Mordin's exactly as we recall him. When we recruit him, it's on the wards in the Citadel, where he has a clinic with Dr. Michelle. There's no need for Omega. With martial law by CSEC, curfew set by Night Watch, and the quarantine in effect, Mordin is desperately trying to solve the cybernetic collector virus. Mordin provides a countermeasure against the secret swarms because he knows to look out for nanomachines. Mordin must also develop a cure against the secret swarms as Shepard and his team got infected while going to Freedom's Progress. The countermeasure works, but isn't as efficient as it should be. They're sick and their stats are suffering continuously until you pick up Mordin. You also need to use this on the colonists you save. As such, the countermeasure and the cure need to be upgraded from time to time to go on further collector missions. And with a subplot with Chorbin, we discover that there's a relationship between the Keepers and the Collectors. This in turn creates intel that we can use to persuade the counselors about the Reaper threat. You have to use Mordin in the paramedic escort role at least once and have him escort one NPC back to the ship. His loyalty mission would be the same, save he clarifies the retcon of the genophage to explain stillbirths and fertility, also so that Shepard doesn't come across as accusing Mordin of murder while doing a 180 when talking to his assistant. Tim explains we need a countermeasure against the Collectors. Good enough. But the real reason is he's trying to break up the Council by getting the Solarians to mistrust the Turians. This will also help him infiltrate some channels to the best info network in the galaxy, since Mordin still has connections to STG. Then we have Zaeed, who's combined with Jacob but is a pure soldier. He supports the Cerberus philosophy but doesn't like a lot of their methods. Zaeed's a cleaner and does all their wet work for them, like when cells go rogue or they need evidence destroyed. However, Tim is careful not to put Zaeed on any cells that are morally difficult. Zaeed is also Cerberus's most prolific weapons expert. He's the first person you encounter when waking up. Zaeed shows off his destructive powers with explosives by opening a jammed door in Lazarus Station for he and Shepard to get through. This also showcases how dynamic environments can work. Zaeed is also required to initiate the research on the Klendakin weapon. First off, you gotta successfully fight Zaeed in training. He kinda respects that. You also have to perform 20 headshot kills or 10 tech biotic kills and 20 melees. Zaeed then opens up by telling you a story about being hunting down a rogue Cerberus scientist called the Doctor. Only after arriving in the Citadel wards does his Omni tool pick up data and readings that only Zaeed would be familiar with. After locating the Doctor's residence on the Presidium and breaking in, we find records of an old project being continued, a project that Zaeed thought he cleaned up. This project is located on another ward. After unsuccessful attempts at gaining lawful access to the warehouse, Shepard decides to infiltrate the compound. Yep, it's a potential sneaking mission. Depending on your handler, the guards will either be CSEC or Night Watch. You'd have to tag doors, security cams, and let your tech expert hack them while you distract, knock out, or kill guards. After a certain point, the rest of your squad joins up. We then get into a chase scene where we need to hunt down a guard for a key. Similar to the tank of Okir's legacy, we eventually find a clone of Miranda. The Doctor used collector tech to speed up the maturation process using Miranda's vigorous childhood to adult Cerberus training via imprinting to create a perfect clone. After tagging the tank and having the paramedic escort get ready for evac, Zaeed reads a pad and learns about shipments being made to Pragia, an old Cerberus base Zaeed performed Scorched Earth on. At this point, Zaeed wants to go to Pragia, or you can tell him not to because it's out of the way and Zaeed said it couldn't exist. If you do say no, though, Zaeed will get pissed off and that ends his story. However, if you say yes, Zaeed will thank Shepard and start distrusting Cerberus more. Both of these choices will affect a major plot point later. Tim will say Zaeed is the most experienced member of Cerberus. He's also a demolitions expert and as such is integral to the suicide mission, and can train others in demolitions as well. But what he doesn't tell you is Zaeed is actually Miranda's operator. He's sort of been watching over her like a surrogate father, making sure her development has been pro-Cerberus. If she ever had any problems or needed guidance, Zaeed would be there to help her out. This is all part of Project Future, which was to create a superbiotic, loyal Cerberus soldier. And this brings us to Miranda, who is combined with Jack, is at least 10 years younger, but an adept. She's a test tube Cerberus baby, genetically engineered to be perfect. Tim thought biotics were the future of humanity and began training Miranda from birth to be a superbiotic specialist, part of Project Future. A combination of brutal experiments by the Doctor, she was given imprints from an early age, making her believe she was a normal childhood with a loving family while acting like an automaton. When she became an adult, the Doctor made her believe her family died in an accident. She joined Cerberus as soon as possible, dedicating her life to each project and quickly becoming its highest-ranking officer. After the destruction of the SR-1, she is put in charge of Project Lazarus, Shepard's recovery, whose main purpose was to make Shepard into an anti-collector weapon and to learn more about Shepard's visions and cipher. Same as before? Only Miranda can determine Tim's true motives about your squad mates by researching their dossiers, due to her security clearance with Cerberus. This greatly impacts one plot point and the future of Cerberus. She also becomes an information broker and is the Cerberus rep. Just destroy 4 Ymir mechs with melee, biotic, or headshots. If she can crush a mech or kill it from 100 yards, then you can too, and she'd be impressed by that. Miranda requires at least 3 biotic training sessions with Samara, and after that she'll open up to you. But just so you can talk to her like a normal human being. It has no progression on the rest of her backstory, but it does determine your relationship, which means you have to choose the pro-Cerberus options again, or good side. And boy, should you two duke it out over Cerberus's methods. Miranda opens up based on a certain plot point and the fate of Cerberus, but I'll get into that much later. Her trust in Shepard can also occur naturally during conversations, provided Shepard responds with pro-Cerberus dialogue. You have to assign someone to study the Miranda clone we found previously. Miranda will then be in a stressed out state and locks herself in a room. You have to assign Kelly to her to get her to open up. Shepard can finally talk to Miranda to see if they can sort through some of her memories. This is unsuccessful though, and she wishes to go to Pragya. Pragya ends up being a walking nightmare for Miranda as she quickly remembers the violence she experienced as a child, where she acted like an automaton. Similar to how the collector swarms control people, Zaeed must of course come along. It turns out Tim wasn't aware of the atrocities happening. It also appears Zaeed's memories were a bit faulty, as he clearly remembers destroying this place 20 years ago. Turns out the Doctor was using a type of indoctrination. The opponents are indoctrinated Cerberus scientists and soldiers. The team finally get to Miranda's laboratory cell where we find a Reaper relic. There are notes made by the Doctor, who was testing the indoctrination effect, along with notes by Saren's studies on Vermeer. The last transmission by the Doctor was made to a person named Armistan Baines. This directly connects Cerberus as still being part of the Alliance, and their involvement with the Reapers. If we saved Ranathanoptis and got her to join us, she can research the Reaper relic. We can then discover the secrets of indoctrination. Depending on how you've talked to Miranda in a Paragon fashion, she will either forgive Tim for his mistakes, thank him for her life, but still not trust him. Or she'll eventually seek him out and want to kill him if you were renegade with her. And determining how you influence the power balance of Cerberus, Miranda might end up leaving the team and end up being replaced by, Oriana. Oriana's a bit different than Miranda, but has all the skills and developments you gave her, aside from the upgrades, but she's not pro-Cerberus. Tim tells us Miranda is his best agent, and she's the best one to help you out. He doesn't really have a real agenda for Miranda. Project Future was a success, and Miranda has become the perfect Cerberus operative. And this brings us to Okeer. Not much of a change. The Krogan scientist and warlord, fanatically dedicated to producing a pure Krogan, specializes in all areas, is a sentinel, and the most useful and well-rounded character to have on mission and ship roles. His goal is to create an even greater breed of Krogan, neglecting the genophage entirely, and instead focus on training a test-tube gene-spliced Krogan called his Legacy, while it's still in its developmental stage during mental imprinting. He'll be found on Tuchanka. After meeting with Rex or Reeve, Shepard must create 2 squads to outwit Okeer's defenses. The problem is Okeer owns Quarian slaves and uses them as assistants and security. It's up to Shepard to either kill or incapacitate them. After both teams meet, Rex or Reeve and Shepard team up to stop Okeer and his defenses. If you didn't save Rex, Reeve just kills all the Quarians he comes across. After infiltrating his lab and disabling Okeer, Shepard can blackmail Okeer about stealing his legacy. Okeer reluctantly joins, though greatly distrusts Shepard and Cerberus. Or you can get him to join Clan Urdnot and allow the clan to hide and protect his legacy. After having had many past dealings with the Collectors, Okeer and his Quarian slaves have made several scans of their ship. He has discovered they use an IIF-like device to get through the Omega-4 relay. Shepard can then assign Okeer to research the IFF and later build it. Okeer wants to keep his legacy on Tuchanka. If you disagree, you have to fight him 6 times in training on the Normandy while keeping the legacy on board. If you do agree, you must fight Uvenk for the right to allow Okeer to join Clan Urdnot. However, you'll have to fight Okeer 3 times in training anyway. Okeer then must have at least 2 research sessions paired with Mordin, 2 with a Quarian squad mate, 2 ship or squad missions with Samara, and 1 training session and 1 squad mission with Zaeed. If you bring Okeer to Haestrom and you encounter the Rachni rep, Okeer will immediately wish to fight it. Instead, you can protect the Rachni rep and challenge Okeer to a fight. Tim explains Okeer is the only means of navigating the Omega-4 relay. But his real reason is that the technology Okeer got from the Collectors could provide breakthroughs in medicine and ship defense. But due to the blackout on Krogan medical data, Okeer would have a treasure trove of before unseen data on Krogan biology, which could boost human biomedical science by 100 years. Instead of providing a potential cure to the genophage, it would be much more efficient to provide highly resilient shock troopers. The rumor of Okeer perfecting his cloning techniques was also of great interest. However, his real purpose was his infiltration and ties to Tuchanka and various political and clan powers within Clan Urdnot and other clans, which would provide even more opportunities to acquire technology and medical research data. Cerberus believed the coming Reaper War would require the aid of a strong, unified Krogan planet, or at least a contingent of Krogan clones, similar to Saren's plan on Vermeer. To initiate this plan, Krogans were the primary species to be part of the Vanguards, the Alliance Urdnot initiative, and most of the funding and coercion came from Cerberus. And now we come to our Quarian. Yep, it's Daro'Xen, the exiled Quarian. The same as Mass Effect 2, but she was exiled due to her continued study of AI and creation of new Geth. And she's found on Corliss. The Corliss locale is a giant ship graveyard. What better place for an exiled Quarian than a salvage extravaganza? The Vanguards were hunting down remains of the Geth and the Reapers. They found a brilliant Quarian who was experimenting on her own Geth creations, and decided to use her skills as a training ground by fighting Geth. Daro'Xen helps in cutting off Legion from the Geth hive mind, which assists in his backstory. She helps in the creation of the Geth rewrite virus for Legion. She helps in modifying Okeer's IFF to be functional, and she's required to start research on Geth and Reaper relics. Daro'Xen wants to travel to Haestrom to acquire a Geth relic. If you save the Rachni Queen, we eventually meet up with a Rachni rep and have them act as our handler or scout on the mission. If Okeer is brought along, he'll want to fight the rep. If we stop him, we might fight him ourselves, with the Paragon Interrupt. If he fights the Rachni, he will kill it. The layout is pretty much the same, save he must have a scout to destroy the barriers. Bringing her along to the flotilla for Tally's trial is met with great conflict. However, after you explain to the Admiralty Board that her virus helped in taking back the Alarai, and Tally is cleared of charges, she will no longer consider being an exiled, whether or not she was in your squad. She still wants to come along anyway. She must also have 2 research sessions paired with Okeer, and any 3 ship sessions and 1 squad mission paired with Legion for her to talk about her past. If you don't pair her up with another researcher while creating the Geth rewrite program, you'll never discover her secret plans to use it to turn the Geth into her slaves, not into heretic Geth. Tim explains she's the best, if only Quarian, that is interested in learning to control the Geth, and only her expertise will aid Shepard in creating countermeasures. But what he didn't tell us is that she was selected for her connections with the Quarians and her eventual infiltration of the flotilla with Shepard. The accusation of treason on Tali Zora was as a result of funding from Cerberus to allow Rael Zor to continue his Geth experiments in secret. This would only end badly with the Admiralty Board pointing blame at whoever was still alive and associated with the experiments. No captain would want to defend anyone from their ship with an accusation of treason. This would force Shepard to be the captain representing Tali at trial. Daro'Xen's control and creation of the Geth on Corliss got Cerberus' attention. Cerberus had been trying to unlock various relics from Sovereign and the Geth, but to no avail. It was in hopes that her research on the Geth could provide answers into unlocking further Reaper technology, and to share a portion of this technology with the flotilla to either rescind her exile, or at least get others to support and continue Daro'Xen's experiments. Thus, the Vanguards were sent to Corliss to build a Geth army with funding from the Alliance and Cerberus.